Like, dude, I can't even say this without laughing. There have been people I know that have been told to, as the tattoo artist, to lay down while tattooing. Think about that. As the artist.
All right, so here's how I would do it. I would buy one of those sex swings off of... I've often joked about like the ultimate tattoo bed is actually one of those sex swings. Welcome to the Artful Dollar podcast. It's me, Ryan, tattooer, artist, creative, seeker, financial coach, whatever you want to call me. I am joined today by someone who I've met, I don't know, maybe like close to a year now. I've kind of been aware of your work. It is none other than Jordan, the tattoo hand therapist and founder of the Tattoo Health Club, really here to serve tattooers in their bodies and the tingling that we get in our hands and just the overall, after 10 years of tattooing, I did not treat my body well. And I really look at tattooing as like, it's the opposite of yoga, where you hold positions that are bad for your body for long periods of time. If yoga is holding positions that are good for your body for prolonged periods of time, tattooing is pretty much the opposite of that. And so I'm really grateful that you are doing what you're doing, Jordan, because there aren't many people that I know of. You're kind of the only person I know of that is talking about this in the way that you are. And so thank you very much. Thanks for joining us today.
Shit, I'm honored to be here, dude. Thank you so much. And it's really like, I just want to serve. I just see so many people hurting and just not knowing where to turn, in all honesty. Like, I remember when I first got into the tattoo industry, like being tattooed, right? Like, how most people start their journey. I used to hang out in tattoo shops all the time when like my dad died, right? I was lost, I grew up on Long Island. So like for me, it was like rap music and drugs, right? Like crushing Percocets and falling asleep in the tattoo chair. And I just saw that it was unsustainable. I was in pain, my friends were in pain, and just I wanted to do something better and just, break down those industry norms that we all know about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit more about your background for me, but also for people listening. Like, how did you get into this line of work originally?
Yeah. So like I said, I lost my dad when I was really young. And so I fell into like the drugs and rap music hole. It's all like, and then found myself in the tattoo industry. Like really, that's what
the
happened.
DR hole.
Yeah, dude. Like, so I was lost for a long time, but I love the tattoo. I just love tattoos. I actually started my journey going on a day date with my mom and dad to a tattoo shop on like a strip mall tattoo shop.
Amazing.
On Long Island. Dude.
I love it.
I was like
picturing
10.
it.
Bro,
what year
10.
was this?
It was, what year was it? We're talking like, I'm 34 now, so it had to have been at least
24 years ago.
20-ish years ago. Yeah, 24 years ago. So I'm in the fucking front parlor, right? Peeking my head through the porthole window, watching my dad get like a traditional like eagle on his arm. I'm an old school biker, handlebar mustache and shit.
In a strip mall in Long Island?
Yeah.
Amazing. I love it.
Straight up day date. They didn't know what to do. My parents were like, I don't know, like, let's go out. Let's go get tattoos. Let's bring our 10-year-old son, Jordan. Okay.
Everyone listening loves it when people bring their 10-year-old kid to come get a tattoo. So
right?
If you're not a tattooer and
weird.
you're listening and you don't have a 10-year-old kid to bring with you to your tattoo appointment, just grab a 10-year-old kid off the street and bring them with you. Tattooers, we love it. We really do.
We love it. They're loud. We're obnoxious, banging into people. Right. So I'm sitting in the lobby. That was like my first experience, right? A couple years later, my mom and dad keep getting tattoos. I keep getting exposed. And then my dad got cancer and he passed away, unfortunately. So found myself looking for friendship, looking for family and connection. And like, I ended up in a tattoo shop looking for like that male role model, in all honesty. Like, that's really what I felt like I was looking for.
I don't know if a tattoo shop's the best place to seek a male role. I mean, I get it, but
yeah,
some of the male role models I've found in tattoo studios, not always. Some of them, don't get me wrong, there's some pretty upstanding people, but not the first place I would think to look. But that's where you went, so.
That's where I was, right? That's what I had available to me. So I'll never forget, like, when I got off, like, my journey of, like, getting clean, I was, like, crushing perks, like, hard. That was my drug of choice. And I remember, like, nodding out in the chair, getting up, crushing perks in the bathroom, coming back out, and nodding back out in the chair. And my tattoo artist, like, straight up told me he wasn't going to tattoo me anymore. It's like when I was working on my back piece, actually.
Yeah,
And
I definitely had many times where like someone just shot up a bundle in the bathroom and then they come sit in the chair. Like they're all good. They book the, they come in, they sign the forms. You think all's good, and then they come back out and they sit in the chair and you're like, oh, you just shot up a bunch of heroin in the bathroom and now I have to tattoo your lifeless, limp body, which you'd think is not terrible because they're not moving, but you have like this dead weight of trying to move. And I'm like, wow, I have to finish this tattoo now because I don't want to leave this person. But it's miserable for the tattoo artists.
yeah, it is. I get it. I'm like, I was on the shit side of it, right? I was the fuck up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I didn't know any better. I was 18 at this point. Like,
Right.
and I started a half bag piece. So, like, yeah, dude, that's how it went. It's like only half finished right now. It's like only half of my back is done. So only the top half, the whole bottom half is unfinished.
I won't make you show it, but only if you want to. But
you can take a picture. We'll show it after.
Okay.
But so I was like, fuck it, I gotta get clean, right? That's how I started. And my boy actually said something to me that really stuck and hit home. And he said that, we were at the bar and he was like, Jack Daniels and cocaine will only get me so far. I thought he was joking. Turns out,
I mean,
he
it'll
wasn't
get you
joking.
pretty far, but it
Only so far.
It won't get you all
right?
the way. Only so far.
Right? So, and this is crazy how this series of events happened. So we're at the bar that night, and like I'm underage at the bar, right? I snuck in at some dive bar, and the next day I got hit by a car. It was Christmas time. I was cutting through, jaywalking on Long Island in like Sunrise Highway, this huge freaking highway. And I'm jaywalking, cutting through the cars. It's like December 16th. I'll never forget because it was the day before my birthday. So I'm cutting through the traffic and boom, I got hit by an Airborne Express delivery van in the turning lane. And dude, I can't make this shit up. Remember back in the day, before Timbs were really popular, right around that time we were wearing lugs. You remember that?
Yeah.
Bro,
yeah.
And we don't tie those lugs back in the day, right? It was like flopping boots. This fucking van knocked me out of my boots and threw me 10 feet down the road, shredding my fucking North Face. Feathers throughout the air, all over the place. All fucked up. Go to the hospital, all this shit. So I start this journey of like having to go into the healthcare system. And I was trying to get clean at the time. We're on this transition. So they're shoving drugs down my throat and I didn't want them. And I was the bad guy because I didn't want to take drugs, take their pharmaceuticals.
Right.
So I realized I'm like, there's something here. So I start going to therapy, physical therapy and occupational therapy, because I was fucking hurt, right? I'm in pain. I have a hard time walking. I got to learn how to do some shit again. And luckily I didn't break any bones, but I had a lot of soft tissue injuries. So I didn't understand that. Most people don't. So the only time I actually found relief was with my occupational therapist, which most people don't even realize there's a difference between an OT and a PT. And I actually found useful strategies. So I started sharing them with my homies, but I realized that I just needed to learn so much more. I didn't know what I was doing. So thankfully, I had a bunch of really powerful women in my life, because women are superstars, right? And they helped get me clean. Yeah.
And so then that led you down what is your area? Are you occupational? Are you, what is the practice that you do?
Yeah. So that's actually where I was getting. So I got clean and then I learned about how to get into occupational therapy, which is more of a holistic approach of why the person is hurting, what are they unable to do in their lives, and how do we get them back to it, the meaningful and purposeful activities that give you meaning in life, right? It's the little things that matter. So I went back to school.
I never in a million years would have looked at it that way, but I think that's a really cool perspective.
Yeah, it's all about the holistic approach of looking at the whole person. On a physical therapy perspective, they just look at what's wrong with you. You have a hard time walking? Okay, we're only going to look at your leg. That's it, right? So we say sometimes this analogy of a physical therapist will teach you how to walk, but an occupational therapist will make it meaningful and teach you how to dance.
Oh, I like that.
All right. So I went all in, dude. Straight up. I went into school. I figured out how to work my crazy ADHD brain because I can never focus on anything. You talk to me for 2 minutes, you realize I got really bad ADHD. Just the way it is.
It keeps coming. A lot of tattooers, I feel ADHD is like almost like their double-edged sword superpower, where they can focus really intensely. And I've been tested for ADHD. I that test didn't. I don't know. I think it's a spectrum anyway. So I don't know if I do or I don't, but I definitely relate to that ability to hyper focus on something. It makes me really great at tattooing, but then completely like everything else disappears. I don't know if I know there's a lot of versions of ADHD, but I feel like a lot of tattooers can relate to that.
Yeah, dude. And that's actually goes directly into tattooing, because for me, when I started my apprenticeship, like that helped me focus, like straight up focus on everything. And then the world drops off. But then that's when we stop caring or thinking about our body, and we need external things to support us. Like I'm sitting on a new chair right now, right? So it's about being able to support you from the outside when your mind is focused on this one task at hand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I ended up doing was I fucking went all in. I got a bachelor's degree in health science, a bachelor's degree in bioscience, and then I got a master's degree in occupational therapy. So those are actually like my legit credentials.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And then
I hate school, so kudos to you for going hard. I mean, there were times, obviously, in financial coaching, I thought about like, should I go get an economics degree? Should I go get a this and that? I'm like, I've run businesses for, almost 10 years now. I went and I did get a, financial advisor's license, but studying, school, all that stuff, like, I don't know how you did it.
Dude, I created this system, like this fucking system for people with ADHD. I created this template style system for myself. I didn't realize that I was building the framework to the Tattooer Health Club. This happened, starting in like 2016. I'm starting to like build these resources and these templates. And I didn't even realize I was building them for me. And then I ended up using them in the masterclass that we teach now. So it's like, it's fucking crazy how like you don't even realize that clarity actually comes in the doing.
It does. I always say that to people. I'm like, learning doesn't happen from listening or from thinking or from reading. Real learning only happens in doing.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. And so after I went to school, I basically traveled the country. I did travel therapy. Like people hear about travel nurses. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to travel therapy. I worked in brain injury units. I worked in mental health units. I worked in, for the most time, hand therapy clinics.
Just coincidence?
No, by intention.
Intention. Okay. Yeah. Did you always see yourself like, I wanted to work with tattooers, or when did that kind of occur for you?
So I honestly always did want to work do something with my homies, do something to help them, right? And I just didn't know how in the moment. But the more I went to school and the more I learned about this, the more I was like, okay, I'm picking up the pieces of the puzzle. And in 2018, I actually cut away from like the traditional healthcare system and started what we called, at that time, it was called inked ergonomics. That was like what I was doing. And it was like me going from
it's catchy, I like it.
Yeah, tattoo shop to tattoo shop, doing like on-hand therapy. And I realized like quickly I was figuring something out, but then the pandemic hit. So I had to rethink this whole like going from tattoo shop to help people.
Right. Before going further, what is the hand therapy? What does it look like? What does it consist of? I've seen some of your videos and like kind of there's like a tool that you use and stuff like that. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Oh, yeah. So when we talk about hand therapy, we're talking about like isolated exercises and equipment that you use to stabilize, support hand health, right? Longevity, or recover from a repetitive strain injury. So carpal tunnel syndrome, tendonitis, early onset arthritis, and then even farther than that, like when people have tendon lacerations and crush injuries, that's like what a clinic for hand therapy would focus on, right? When we talk about that tattoo artist, we talk about really, believe it or not, like the hand therapy perspective and angle is a secondary component to what's happening at your neck, really, and our posture, bro. So there's all this research out there that correlates the posture of your cervical spine and how it has a
Speaking of, my posture is like not great right now.
Right? I know it. I know it.
As we're talking.
And it's what happens is this. It's over time, we have these huge bundles of nerves in our neck. And so many people think, oh, well, my nerves in my spine and my back, and they're all fucked up. And it's like, no, for a tattoo artist, it's actually starts at the neck. Everything starts at the neck. And it's our cervical spine, right? And then what happens is the nerves in our neck get pressure on them. And that pressure goes down a kinetic chain down to the fingertips. And that's how we get tendinitis. That's how we get carpal tunnel syndrome. That's how we get radial tunnel syndrome, ulnar cubital tunnel syndrome.
You think it's happening in your hand, but it's really a much more holistic, like you're saying, kind of connection?
Yep, abso-fucking-lutely. 10 out of 10 times. Just because you feel the pain in your hand doesn't mean that's the source of it, right? And I see it constantly. People are like, oh, I have tendinitis. I'm like, yeah, but you have a kinetic chain breakdown. It's like a domino effect, right? Where bodies are so
if you
tight.
just treat the hand, you're not going to find long-term relief. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Absolutely. Dude, you know what? I have an example, if that's cool.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk about our shared student?
Sure, yeah. One of my clients also worked with Jordan. We'll keep her anonymous for now. She went through my financial coaching course. She, just had a lot of not just like practices that weren't serving her and, struggling to save money, but just like almost like generational, like ancestral, like, she came from, Native American background. And it was just like really interesting to like dive deep into. So just how you say like the hand pain doesn't start in the hand, like your money problems don't just start with your bank account or the amount of money you come in, like they're deeply rooted. And if we don't address those deeply rooted belief systems that we inherited from our parents, who inherited from their parents and their friends, we don't make that long lasting difference. And so we dove into that and it was extraordinary. And one of the things she mentioned to me, we have a testimonial of hers on the website, was that she was dealing with back pain, body pain, and actually had to take a long time off of tattooing. And that's when she told me, oh, I worked with that guy, Jordan. And I was like, oh, wow, very cool.
Yeah, heck yeah. And it's crazy to think this because nobody really thinks about the implication, right? So many of us are like in the here and now, right? Like I got to grind out this tattoo. I got to get rent for the week. I got to pay for my station. I got to get more ink. I got to get more cartridges, right? We're thinking about the right now. So for someone to actually think about the future is really empowering, So in her specific example, she was out for about a year, almost a year's worth of work, right?
I remember it was about a year, which I was like, how did you manage not tattooing for a whole year?
Yeah. And it's because she didn't know what to do. So she's just like trying to figure things out. And what I've learned is over time that doctors, chiropractors, massage therapists, personal trainers, these people don't understand the craft of tattooing, right? So it's unfortunate because they give unrealistic recommendations and you get caught in this cycle of people not understanding what you're doing. So they give you these recommendations that don't really make sense or are not feasible. Like, dude, I can't even say this without laughing. There have been people I know that have been told to, as the tattoo artist, to lay down while tattooing. Think about that.
Okay.
Could you imagine?
Lay down while tattooing.
As the artist.
All right, so here's how I would do it. I would buy one of those sex swings off of... I've often joked about like the ultimate tattoo bed is actually one of those sex swings. And you just hang it from the ceiling and then like you can get from any position. You can hoist them up higher. You could tattoo standing, but you could also use it almost like a mechanic. So you get one of those mechanic boards on wheels, right? They slide under the car and then you just have your client hovering above you in a sex swing. And that's how you do it. And that's probably the optimal position for tattooers. So if you're listening, go out there, pick that up, do it.
Buy a sex swing.
Bye.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to work out the ergonomics on that. So,
wow. Yeah. Okay. So that's what they're telling tattooers. Interesting.
Yeah. Out of work for a year, right? We're talking about. So what does that mean, right? We're talking about how much money do you make? What's your day rate, right? So say if you have $1,000 day rate, right? And you work 4 days a week, well, if you're making $4,000,
Right. I mean, you know, we've actually done, you know, a lot. We have a lot of data on what tattooers are making, and I'd say your average tattooer is doing anywhere between $40,000 and $60,000 a year on average. Yeah.
right? So if you're losing that $40,000 to $60,000, right? Potentially, let's just make it conservative, right? So we don't scare people, right? Say you're out of work for 5 months. Right? Let's make it easy, right? So I'm out of work for 5 months. So what does that mean? Well, 5 months is 20 weeks, right? If we use that math of like $4K a week, I mean, like that's $20,000 that you just lost.
$4K
right?
a month. Yeah.
So
and you know, that's even more conservatively, you could say like, well, okay, it's not necessarily common that a tattooer is going to take off for that period of time, but I do know a lot of tattooers that are like, I'm cutting down on how many tattoos I'm doing, or I'm taking a smaller break, or I'm finding myself taking more breaks. Because yeah, after 10 years is where it really for me at least, and from what I hear of a lot of tattooers, it's where it really starts. You feel it. And so it's kind of one of those things where the first couple of years you ain't thinking about it at all. And then after 10 years, you're like, damn, like doing 2 tattoos back to back. I used to do, you know, 5 or 6 tattoos a day. And then all of a sudden it was like doing 2 tattoos back to back. I felt dead afterwards, like physically, like it was brutal.
Bro, you're not the only one. So it's really like this benchmark from the 5 to 10 year mark for the people that I see are like really starting to hurt and they don't know what to do. So it's like a lot of the people I find, it's just because there's just like not enough education, right? You know how well the tattoo industry shares information.
Right. I mean, also I feel like tattooers, maybe they're sharing information about money and maybe it's not good information, but I never heard anyone even remotely, actually, that's not true. I heard one tattoo artist talk about stretching, and actually I'll show you for anyone listening and not watching this, I'll explain what I'm doing. He was Chinese, he's from China. And he said his mentor told him to do this.
Yeah.
And really push your head forward, push your neck forward, pull your arms over your head, and pull your arms and shoulders back and push your head forward. And that's what he said to do. And I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I did start doing that. I heard someone say every 20 minutes of tattooing, you should stretch. Now, I probably didn't do it perfectly, but I really did. After maybe like 6 years of tattooing, I started implementing that roughly every 20 to 40 minutes. I would stop and I would try to do that for like 5 minutes, a solid 5 minutes. And I can't tell you, just that small difference in making that regular, I think it really saved me a lot of time and energy and money from being able to tattoo more proficiently. Hey, all you Artful listeners, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for giving a listen to the podcast. I hope that it's bringing some value to you in your life. That's really why I started this podcast. And if you're getting something useful or valuable out of it, I just want to invite you to go rate and review this podcast. It really helps me out. And it also helps other people find this podcast so that they can get some value out of it. They can feel more free around money and just get some wisdom and some knowledge that we're trying to share on here. So again, I'm not really asking anything else of you other than to just leave a review and rating for this podcast. It really helps me out and it helps other people find us. So thanks and enjoy the show.
Yeah, it matters. It's the little things and stretching with intent, doing things with intent, knowing that I'm going to stop tendinitis. I'm going to stop my carpal tunnel syndrome because I can do these things, right? And like establishing a baseline, because what I find so often, there's a stigma in the tattoo industry also, right? Like if you have pain, you're seen as weak or you're seen as broken. I see that all the time. And it's like this identity of like,
and you just got to push through it.
You got to push through
it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that leads people to just be hurting more. Then they get into this like chronic pain cycle of despair of like, I'm not getting fulfilled. I can't do what I want. Am I going to be able to keep doing this? But then on the flip side, I've seen that self-reliant, strong tattoo artist that's like, shit, I'm in pain. I'm going to figure out why I'm in pain so I can just fix it on my own and not be dependent on someone else, like massage therapist, chiropractor, personal trainer. Because it's like, I know what people are going to say. People are like, well, I fucking have a personal trainer, or I have a chiro that I trade with. Oh, I tattoo my chiro and like he gives me free treatments. But like, you're still losing your time. And time is the most precious resource we have that you can't get back. So if you're still going to a chiropractor and wasting 2 hours a week, commuting, getting the treatment, sitting to wait and get treated, like most of those times we have to take off of work to do that. So you're still losing your time, even if you're not losing your time and your money.
Is something like, I think chiropractic work, I've heard very mixed things. I've gotten chiropractic work. I've gotten bad chiropractic work. I've gotten good chiropractic work. I've heard of a tattooer literally like being partially paralyzed.
Yes,
so
that's true.
The whole topic kind of freaks me out, honestly. And I'm sure there's a lot of people with great experiences with it, but the few things that I've heard and having some bad experiences myself, just not for me.
Yeah, I'll put this out there as a baseline, which nobody really even knows, but it's common knowledge. You can research it. What chiropractors don't want you to know about adjustments is that they're not real. Like, nobody needs to be adjusted, right? What's happening is, yes, maybe there's no perfect alignment. Well, guess what? Nobody's perfectly aligned. So what they do is they try to pop it back into place, like we're talking about the spine. And what's happening there is it just gets pulled out of alignment again because of the tight muscles.
Right. And if you don't treat that muscle, I have had a chiropractor do a neck adjustment that felt amazing. And I was like, oh my God, I need to do this all the time. But it just, it's one of those like hit or miss things. And then when you work with a bad chiropractor or someone that maybe just not the right fit for you. I worked with someone a couple of months ago out of a recommendation of a good friend of mine. I think my shoulder was in pain for maybe 8 to 12 weeks. Like, I was in physical pain from the adjustment. It was not good.
Yo, it's true. Yo, check this out. I'm just going to say something objective, and I'm going to keep my bias out of it.
Sure.
The first ever person that was treated by a chiropractor, how the field was founded. This is common knowledge. You can research it. You can Google. It's on Wikipedia or whatever. It's common knowledge. This motherfucker, I forget his name. He had a book. He hit somebody in the back with a book and claimed to have cured their deafness. That's the first ever person for chiropractic, like proven.
Okay.
Right. Then the second one, air quotes, heavy air quotes on that for the listeners. But the second person was that they adjusted them and they cured their heart disease. And this is like fucking bullshit, dude. It can't even happen. It's not even true. The entire premise of the chiropractic field is on this concept called spinal subluxation, meaning that your spine comes out of alignment. And if we can realign it, we'll fix any problem in your body. Any illness, we can fix it with adjusting your spine.
Yeah, as someone I'm personally very open to all kinds of alternative medicines, energy healing, acupuncture, like whatever. Like, I'm open to explore. I go into everything with an open mind. And I also go into everything slightly skeptical, being like, I'm not going to just believe that this is going to, like, I need to actually feel like this is helping me and trust my gut. And I have had consistently better experiences with like something like Reiki or energy healing, honestly, than chiropractic work when I really think about it. And there are a lot of people that are going to be like, the fuck are you talking about? So like, look, again, my opinion, not preaching. I'm not a doctor. I'm not, but this is just my experience. And I'm being honest. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, to your point earlier, right? Tattooing is like the opposite of yoga.
Yeah.
Well, like, what most people don't understand is I actually classify the different work hazards and risks for tattoo artists. It's common knowledge. I've copyrighted, put it in the industry. And like, one of the things that is a risk factor for tattoo artists is what we call a sustained static workload. I have to hold this one position for so long, and our muscles build up what we call cumulative tension. So it's like, it's not from one day, but it's one day on top of the week, on top of the month, on top of the year.
Right, 2 hours here, 4 hours here, 6 hours. Yeah.
It's cumulative, right? Over time. And what happens is our muscles get put to this point of like, okay, we're working, but we're like on the edge, we're teetering. And then something will happen, right? A bicycle accident, a fall, a car accident, something like that. And then
a book hitting us in the back of the head.
Yeah. And this starts this cascade effect, this domino effect of that domino got pushed over and now everything starts to fail after that, right? And that's where we have repetitive strain injuries like tendonitis, carpal tunnel syndrome, thoracic outlet syndrome, these things that nobody talks about that I am happy to talk about and like take the bullets, be the first one through the door and be like, yo, you got to do something about this or like you're going to get taken out of the game. It's that simple.
I'm trying to think of, obviously like doing rib tattoos and back tattoos on clients. I've been conscious of how it involves like literally like muscles in my legs are tensing up to get that position and to hold the body and to stretch while pulling, while staying stable. I mean, it's a full body, I don't know if you call it a workout, like everything, the way my feet are planted on the ground, the way my elbows are, if they're touching or anchored or positioned, like it's every muscle in the body. And you're holding that position for a 3-hour, 4-hour session or more. Yeah, I mean, it's not good.
Yeah, yeah. And then we talk about like, what are the like, most people don't even know this. You know, the vibration of your tattoo machine is one of the reasons that most people get that tingling and numbness in your fingers. You know, like for anybody out there that's listening, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you have tingling and numbness in your fingers after you're done tattooing, hear me, because that is the first sign of nerve pain. That's the first early red flag that people just brush off like it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. It's the first red flag that people are just like brushing the fuck off. But what comes next is sharpshooting electric pain. What comes after that is this burning sensation and the loss of coordination and strength. And then we lose our ability to use our hands. So even to be able to hold that machine or pull that clean line, or if you've ever been tattooing and you feel like your machine is going to drop out of your hand, that shit's real, believe it or not. And that's fucking nerve pain. That's a big deal. And if you don't do something about it, it's not going to go away. It's just going to get worse.
So what do you do? I have two things. One is I want to know, what do you do when you start to feel any of those symptoms? But two, I wonder, because I have, when I was first learning to tattoo, I never did a traditional apprenticeship, but I kind of learned from several people. I was a body piercer before I was a tattooer, and I worked in shops, and I learned a little bit through many people. And someone showed me how to hold a machine in a way that I thought was very counterintuitive. It was, I was trying to hold the machine like a pencil, and he's like, "No, don't hold it like that because you're going to hurt your hand. Hold it, more like a, you're gripping it more like, I don't know how to, I could show you how to grip my hand. Not like a pencil, because it's going to strain. And I see a lot of tattooers actually holding machines like pencils. I've shown tattooers this. I had a friend who was saying that her hand was really hurting. And I said, well, show me how you hold the machine. And she showed me. I said, try holding it like this. And it was more keeping that grip really tucked up against the palm of my hand, and then using my wrist muscles more than my finger or hand muscles. And she started doing that, and just that alone made a huge difference. So I don't know, do you get into like how tattooers actually hold the machine?
I do, deep in the class with the ergonomics, because ergonomics are, most people don't understand. The vehicle that I'm like bring to the table is therapy and ergonomics. And ergonomics is way more than just the grip on your machine. To your point, it's how you conceptually like organize your day, how like there's cognitive ergonomics, physical ergonomics, and organizational ergonomics, right? So we go deep in those. But when we talk about like the physical grip, I actually have coined a term called the modified lateral tripod grasp, which is like the way I think that most tattoo artists should hold their machines. It's not how we hold a pencil, to your point, because there's an additional strain. Like, we're not talking about physics involved here, but there's additional strain when you hold it. To your point, using more surface area, evenly divided or distributed throughout the hand, there's less strain there, right?
Yeah.
And now if we talk about eliminating that awkward wrist position or those wrist actions and taking more control from the shoulder, you'll actually have more of a consistent, smooth glide, pull your lines cleaner, be able to pull a longer, cleaner line if we focus from the mobility of the shoulder rather than the mobility of the wrist.
And then if you just lie down on the floor, you're going to be now I'm joking. I think all these things, and it's hard when you've been doing it one way for a long time. I'm so grateful that someone showed me this stuff when I first started tattooing because now it's like second nature for me. But I remember how weird, awkward. I'm trying to learn to tattoo, but I'm also trying to learn to hold a marker essentially with needles on it in a very unintuitive way. So yeah, I'm glad that you're showing them that, because that is so important. Also, I mean, the weight of the machine, the counterweight of the machine, like all these little things. Yeah, I never really dealt with a ton of hand pain. And I think it has a lot to do with I put a lot of intention into how I was holding the machine. But if I would experience it on occasion, or I'd experience numbness or tingling, but it would be very rare. And I would notice, I like started holding the machine in some weird way or something, like, to get some strange angle in a particular session,
Yep, that awkward wrist position. So the 3 reasons that tattoo artists actually get, like, let's just use carpal tunnel, for example. It could be any nerve pain, any nerve, because there's like, we talk about like 4 different nerves that come into your hand. Most people only know about the median nerve, which are these 3 fingers.
I don't know about any of them.
You don't know? Well, I'll tell you. There's the median nerve, there's the ulnar nerve, the radial nerve supplies the back of the hand, and then there's something that supplies the entire arm, which is really coming from the neck, called the brachial plexus. And that kind of subdivides into all of these nerves. So wherever you feel the pain helps dictate how we heal it. Or is it these 3 fingers? First 3, the thumb, the index, the middle? Is it the ring and the pinky? Is it the whole back of the hand? Or is it the whole hand, which tells us it's coming from the neck? It's not an isolated incident. So
when you start to feel any of these, tingling, numbness, difficulty holding, what's the first thing someone should do?
So everybody's different, but the first thing I always address is the neck. Start intentionally stretching the neck. Right? Even using something like Epsom salt is something I love to talk about, because believe it or not, Epsom salt is not table salt, guys. You can't fucking eat it. It's actually magnesium sulfate, and it actually helps with inflammation. It's an old school remedy that I'm trying to bring back into common culture, and using it either in a hot foot sauna or like in a compress and placing it on the areas of pain or discomfort. So, like back in the day, grandma used to have that foot sauna that she put her feet in and like sit and like smoke her feet or whatever. I tell people to buy those, tattoo artists, and put Epsom salt and use it for their hands.
Oh, yeah. That's very smart.
Right? That's one easy trick. The next thing is we always do what's called nerve glides. So the first thing we have to really understand is the reason that you're even getting these symptoms is because the muscles are so tight. The muscles put pressure on the nerves and then give you the symptoms. So what we really have to do is release the tension of the muscles to no longer put pressure on the nerves and alleviate your symptoms, so they go away.
That makes sense to my non-educated mind, like that, but like I can picture it. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Right. And
I can see how like that would work, And I think that's also really important for anyone to these things can be so conceptual. You can feel hopeless, but it is nice to just have you kind of explain it in that way. Where like, okay, that makes sense. If I'm dealing with this pain, alleviating the strain of the muscles that are pressing on the nerves that are causing the pain, like that makes sense. Yeah.
And I just want to make it fucking easy, So I've actually created these step-by-step templates. And that's so like essentially inside the umbrella of the Tattooer Health Club is a masterclass. It's the Ergonomic and Therapy Secrets Masterclass. And what I do is I just break things down to the simplest form. Why things go wrong during a tattoo, how to redefine your routine to make it easy for you, understanding like ergonomic hacks, the things that you can quickly use, the things that matter, and then demystify this whole thing we call muscle and nerve pain. What are the red flags, and then what do you do to stop it immediately? That simple.
Yeah. And when I was coming here to record, I was biking over, and I think I was sharing with you this. I was just thinking about the episode, and I'm like, your body is your business. I just like that kind of like, as tattooers, and I mean, a lot of industries, but like your body is your business. So one, it's your business to take care of it, like do it, but like it is our vehicle, our money-making machine. And if you had a car you depended on to make you money for your job, or you had a tractor or a lawnmower or whatever vehicle, you'd need to upkeep that. You'd need to invest in keeping that up to date. And if you don't, like, you know, the difference between someone that doesn't and someone that does, like, you know, running a professional business, or they're kind of using some whatever whacked out, out of tune system. Like, your body is that system. And just how we invest in tattoo machines and equipment and all that stuff, the most important piece of equipment that you have is your body. And so it is your business. And, you know, I'm assuming as a tattooer, you know, getting some education around this, investing in that, I'm assuming it is a tax deduction. I'm going to go ahead and say yes, because the only reason you're doing that is so that you can continue to work on your business. So yeah, like, invest in your most important machine, which is your body.
Right. And it's like, you always talk about how people have weird relationships with money, right?
Yeah.
We have this weird relationship with our body. And I really come to terms with understanding what I think is why, right? In like the traditional societal constructs, you know, like, we're gonna get a little meta here, but like in these constructs, like, we kind of create this, there has been a hierarchy created, you know, somebody with a white coat who's an authority figure, a doctor, right? They know what to do. And there's like this information that seems to be like safeguarded. Like, this is healthcare information. You can't know it. You're an everyday person. Like, what the fuck is that about? Like, in this new, like, thought revolution that's happening, people are trying to be more self-reliant and be less dependent on this, like, broken, archaic system that's just trying to control us. Because, like, real talk, right? Our society works and controls us through fear, separation, right? And like, just lack. And it's like, if they can keep you not knowing why you're in pain, if they can keep us angry at each other and like just divided, then like that societal control keeps going. But if you can break out of that societal conditioning and be more self-reliant, I find that like people are happier, they're more fulfilled, and they break away from that stress and anxiety and fear that everything really boils down to. Because when you peel back the layers, I don't care what you're talking about, our bodies and our minds work off of fear to keep us safe, right? That's what our nervous system does. Keep you safe and keep you comfortable. So like, some people are scared to take that next step. They're scared to step out of their comfort zone because it's like, oh, well, when I was coming up, my mentor told me, this is just the way it is, right?
Right. Yeah, I like that you get deep with it. I love that. I do the same thing, because it's not just whatever it appears to be on a surface level. And I love that. I think that's so important. So
yeah. And like, to your point, Ryan, I love to say, like, you know, you talk a lot about imposter syndrome too, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Imposter syndrome and the chronic pain cycle are like brother and sister. It's these subcortical pathways in our brain that are lying to us, right? That ego that's always lying to us to try to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And it's scary when we like start to break through and get to that next level, because everything we want is on the other side of that fear, right?
Yeah. 100%. You're spot on.
So it's like
everything we want is on the other side of that fear.
Yeah. So it's a matter of like being clear on who we are and how we want to operate in the world so that you can do that, right? It's like that be, do, have model.
Yeah. Jordan, I mean, we've talked, we've had a lot of interactions here and there, but I just feel like this conversation, I just got to know you a lot more. And there's just so many things that resonate between you and I and what we're teaching. And I always tell people, like, I'm not actually interested in money. Like, that's not why I teach about this. Like you said in the beginning, like, I just want to serve, right? And it's the reflection, like, money becomes this mirror that reflects your relationship with yourself back at you. And the way you relate to money impacts every other area, is like the way you relate with your life. And I hear you kind of teaching very similar things about your body, because I think you can do it with anything. I don't think it has to be money or it has to be your body, but the things that we have the most challenged relationship with are the portals through which the most freedom lies on the other side of.
I couldn't agree more with you. I couldn't agree more. And it's like, the more people want to be self-reliant, the more that thought leaders are important, right? We need to have mentors or take advice from people who have been where we're trying to go.
Yeah. Yeah, we touched on that a little bit in chatting, and there's more teachers, coaches showing up and tattooing, and some people are really excited about it. Other people are like, what is this? Who are, you're just here for some cash grab or something like that. And it's like, okay, hold on, let's zoom out. Okay, look at every other industry that exists on the planet. There are people that become experts in not the whole broad area, but a specific niche area that other people struggle with. And it's usually someone that struggled with it themselves, like yourself, like myself, and then found solutions and then said, oh, you know what? I can't like help with everything, but I'm actually really good at helping with this one niche thing. And if you can focus in on that, you can make a really profound difference. And so this exists all over the place. Why shouldn't it exist for tattooing? Tattooing is as legitimate as any other profession or art form. And I love it. I love seeing it. And I love seeing you out there, sharing this message. So you do share a lot of stuff on your Instagram, I know. So what's your Instagram handle?
So my Instagram is Tattooer Health Club. So
Tattooer Health Club. And so what is just give me a quick description. What is the Tattooer Health Club?
So the Tattooer Health Club is basically this umbrella of everything that we do. It's the community of people, of like-minded, compassionate tattoo artists that want to validate what each other are feeling. It's how we sell exclusive equipment like the K-tape, the massage tools, all of like the stretching straps, everything that we have exclusive for the community. It's where we host the master class and all of the free updated classes that we do. And then essentially, it's just continuing to grow and more people are joining because of this like awareness of like, oh, goddamn, this is real and it actually works,
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. Man, I'm so glad that you have that. There's a place for people to go and seek that out. Yeah. Anything else you want, any last message you have for people or anything to sign off with?
Hell yeah, dude. Invest in yourself. I know most of us think that we don't have enough time in the day, but if you really look at it, you have more time than you think. Do a time audit. Write your fucking day down on a piece of paper and say, where am I losing my time? Those lost times is when you should be stretching. That's when you should be taking the time for yourself. And we are offering monthly free masterclass trainings. I'm doing one every month because I want to be a part of something bigger than myself. And I want to serve the global tattoo industry. So we're giving free masterclasses every month now. We just want to serve and we want to give some information on what are the most common mistakes that tattooers are making and some of the early red flags that are going to end your career and how to avoid them.
Awesome. Super cool, dude. Well, thanks again. And I look forward to seeing, more of you in the future. And appreciate you, dude.
Hell yeah. When I come up for No Idol Tattoo, I think in a couple months, we're going to be doing a seminar up there, like seminar workshop.
Oh,
so
sick.
I have to come back to your new shop now that it's finished.
Yeah. The renovation's all done here. So we'd love to have you.
Hell yeah, dude. Awesome stuff. It's been a pleasure, dude. And it's an honor to be here and light and love. I can't wait to see how good today is going to be for you.
Excellent. Thanks, dude. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, I just want to prompt that if you got some value out of this conversation, please go and leave us a rating and a review on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you saw this podcast. It really helps me out and it really helps other people to find this podcast. I want more people to have these types of conversations around money so that we can all be more free and at ease and abundant and able to create the lives that we really want to live. So please share this and rate and review. Appreciate it. Thanks.